Awesome, and welcome back to What's Your 20? I'm your host, Carl Figueiredo, and today we're joined with indie production coordinator, Aries Ceta.
Hi.
That was pretty good.
That was really good.
Perfect. So a little backstory about Aries. I've worked with her many times before now. Not only is she an indie production coordinator, but she also does all the indie work, like producing, location managing, production managing, because on a lot of the productions that we've been working on lately, they're all a combined role.
Correct.
Today, specifically, we're going to try to ream into the production coordinating side of things and how you would best navigate that in an indie world. But for my viewers, it's just also understanding that some of these might tie into location managing and they might tie into producing, because if you find yourself in this unique position, you're probably going to need to know how to do all those things, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So, starting question, what is production coordinating to you? What does a production coordinator do in the traditional sense, in your eyes?
Well, it's, as the word says, coordinating. You're trying to coordinate what every department needs and what they're looking for as well. And trying to make that make sense with the vision that the director wants to achieve. Sometimes you do, especially in the indie world, you kind of do just everything. But yeah, we don't really get to do a lot of like creative things. Yeah. I mean, I guess the most creative things you get to do is just a lot of spreadsheets.
Hey, you can make a pretty good spreadsheet.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just making sure that everything goes to schedule, have everything organized. Organization is crucial.
Yeah, 100%. I think like production coordinators are because it ties into production coordinating, they're the backbone of a functioning set. Like a really good production coordinator, I think, can make or break a set, essentially, because it's all these little things that might slip through the cracks if you're not there. Tell me. So I know, like, talking to the other heads of departments who have come onto the set, first thing we would do would be, like, break down a script or, like for looking for key elements. What do you do on your production coordinating side? And this might tie into a little bit of production management side. What do you do first when you first get approached with an idea?
Yeah. Well, if there's a script, just read the script at least 5 times. So read the script the first time just for the story, then the second time mainly for the logistics, and then the other times is just what did I miss. And sometimes like I do have different colors for everything, not like the normal script breakdown, but just use maybe like the red pen for a certain thing, for just logistics thing, or blue pen for, I need clearance for that. Mm-hmm. And just circling them and then combining that with the normal like green highlighter for the slug lines and all that stuff. Then after the breakdown, talk with either the other producer
or yourself,
myself,
look into a mirror.
Just look at myself. And try to understand if the script matches with the budget that sometimes is non-existent. And just like, let me ask who I can, call and be like, hey, can I have your house for free? It's going to be good people. It's going to be a nice story. We're all going to have fun. But yeah, just trying to see how we can achieve it, and with not a lot of budget, and who to call, and all of that.
So you mentioned something in there, being a good production coordinator. Sometimes the creativity that you get is file management, essentially, and like spreadsheets. How if you could recommend a way to better yourself in that, how would you do that? Or what skill sets do you think you need coming into a role like production coordinating? And then I have another follow-up question after that.
Yes. Well, it's more like trying to understand, first of all, trying to understand how big the production is going to be. And based on that, create folders and subfolders and then relink them to like all like spreadsheets and making sure that you have everything in one page. And I don't really know if I'm answering your question though. Like it.
I think that's definitely true. Because I think what you're saying is that, like, being able to find all the information that you might need in one place so you can relate it back to it. I guess a follow-up question to that is, how do you make sure that, or is there a way to make sure that when information is changing, if you have it in two separate areas, to make sure that you've changed it in both sections? Because I struggle with that myself, of like, my chronological time schedule is different to like my day schedule because I've copied and pasted it from here to there, and then something's changed on the day and I've changed it in one section compared to the other. Is there a formula you can do?
Yeah, there is a formula. Special shout out to ChatGPT. You ask questions to ChatGPT and they're like, oh yeah, this is the formula, and try to apply it. But even if there is a formula to copy the information that you have in one sheet and just move it to the second sheet, you still have to double check everything, because 99% of the times you're missing one little information. And the bad thing about spreadsheets is that if you mess up one little thing, even a dot or a comma or like a number, everything changes. Yeah, and then you have to like go to like, you have to understand, what did I do wrong to understand what changed the formula. Yeah,
totally. So how do you when you're going back through your work, how do you recheck things? And I say this because I personally struggle when I'm rechecking my work. Going through line by line, eventually you go like, I'm sure I got this right. Especially if everything's been right so far and like you're looking for one thing specific, but you don't know what you're looking for. Do you have a little process that you do or something you can recommend?
Well, so especially like in general, in all the productions, like there's always going to be something last minute that you're going to miss. And what I've learned through experience is that do not change it right away, but write it down somewhere. Like what I do is like send myself some voice messages on WhatsApp to myself to be like, okay, change this because of the reason, and just say the reason on my voice message. Because there will be like sometimes, I'm pretty sure that anyone like has done this before, they would open their notes app and just like move to number 6 without no context, with no reason. Then when you later on go home and you're tired, you had like, I don't know, 16-hour day, and you're like, what? What is 6? So yeah, just send yourself voice messages and then when you're a little bit more calm, change everything. Because especially when you're coming from like production coordinator or producer, if you make one mistake, it's going to be a domino effect. Everyone will follow your, like, whatever you put wrong, and then it falls into you, and they're like, oh, but the producer wrote this on this document, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I should have double checked that, or I should have done that when I had more sleep.
Yeah, no, most definitely, because that's, and I guess also being in a production coordinating role, that's something that would heavily fall on you, because you're doing all of these paperwork side of things, and if you're approving things, or like if a producer's approving things, that if you're in a tired stance. You're like, $20,000 this week. Don't worry, you get that.
You get it. No, thankfully
like,
I've never done that mistake. Imagine.
No, oh my god, it's $20,000.
You get $20,000.
That'd be amazing. Going back to it, how do you form relationships? Like, because I know a big part of what you're doing is maybe negotiating down people on being able to use their area, or like the fun little be part of us with a movie.
Yeah,
how
we're
do you
family.
start forming those relationships, especially with, like, let's say rental houses or gear houses that you'll have to frequent? How do you, and I've actually always been curious about this, how do you go from being someone who's maybe starting completely at the bottom, has no money, has like not even being like, don't worry, one day I have this track record that I will get you a union show, or I will get you a feature film. How do you begin to formulate relationships with production houses?
Well, so I personally, so I work at VFS.
Yeah.
So I have to say that I'm pretty lucky because I can form a big networking in there. So all my students then become alumni, and then these alumni start working in different shows and work in rental houses. Or my classmate, he works at a rental house. So like it's just who you know, and then that's how you start building the relationship, or just being on set. Honestly, just go in any set. I mean, I personally, when I started film, I was costumes intern. So complete different department. Yeah, I didn't
From
tell
costumes to logistics.
Yeah. So it's just like try to get us more experience and talk to people as people, not as you're gonna hire me or what are you doing? What's your next thing? It's just I'm talking to you because I care about you.
Yeah.
And I want to know you.
Yeah.
Not what I can get out of you.
No.
So even like in the networking parties, or actually those are pretty big ones. Just go there to have fun, and then they will ask you like, hey, if you need help, let me know. I have this, or I work here, I work in this rental house if you need anything. And that's how you slowly build your network and contacts. But on top of that, it's also your reputation. Because I'm pretty sure if I go to someone and like, hey, I would love to like use your location, and they're gonna check maybe, I don't know, my Instagram or something, and see how many people follow me, and then maybe, hey, have you heard of this person? What do you think? And then it's just like the reputation and like how people know you and what you have done.
Yeah. No, that's
like,
a good point,
work-wise,
because it's also something to be said to even being kind to that PA on set, because I once had this instance that like there was a guy who just enjoyed PAing because he enjoyed being on set, but he was actually a producer for larger commercials.
Wow.
And I started getting work from him because I was nice to him, and he just saw like the work ethic that he had. So there is a sense of like being nice to everyone on set.
Just be nice to everybody. I mean, yeah, it's just that should be like,
you just see written in the handbook.
Yeah, like you shouldn't have a reminder for that, but like you'll be surprised on how many people just like, oh yeah, they're just locations, don't worry about it. It's like, no, we don't do that.
All right. Okay, so one thing that I know from more of the union world, and I'm gonna relate this back into the indie sense. Do you guys deal with the prep memos, or how do you deal with getting information out to people in a timely manner? And is there anything that you can recommend for people when they struggle with either keeping organization, or, because I remember we talked about a certain something before this started that we might be able to recommend to people?
Yeah, so well, I guess the first question is just how to remind people of like all the new changes. Yeah. WhatsApp groups. All those, like, now WhatsApp has this beautiful thing called community,
and changed my life.
Yes, that's beautiful. So you can have all your all the group chats of all the different departments in there, and then you have this announcement on the top of the community, and this is where like anything like any updates that you need to give to the crew, you just put it on the announcement and everyone knows. Yes, having as well emails, that would be ideal, but like we all know that we're always on our phones, and looking at messages is always going to be easier than looking at an email.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one. And there are some Google extensions. I don't know the name on top of my head right now, but like they would read your, I think it's called Spark. I think. I don't know. I need to double check that.
Fact check.
And you just connect your email to that, and then basically AI is going to be kind of like reading your emails. And yeah, and then like I think it's going to like, it's going to underline if somebody wants to have a meeting or no. And yeah, or just send Google invites, Google
Cool.
Calendar invites. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, especially in an indie sense, because I'm working mainly in that now,
Mm-hmm.
it's so handy receiving from production invites to potential meetings that might happen, especially when we're working on like where our shoot's only going for 2 days, or our shoot's only going for 3 days, or these shorter periods, because you might have something coming up afterwards, and then just having it on your calendar makes an immense world of difference.
Yeah, and the good thing about Google Calendars is just that you can put different categories of like what color is associated with which show.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps me. I mean, you saw my Google Calendar.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's so color-coded.
It's a magical place.
But yeah.
Awesome. So let's take it back again. How did you get into the film industry? How, if someone wants to go down your route to become a producer or a production coordinator, what steps should I take, and what would you advise them in starting to do?
Well, I think that the most important thing is get as much experience as you can. Do not take big roles right away, because the only thing that you're going to get is just either you're going to excel in it, or it's just not going to be, it's going to be a great learning lesson. Let's just say that. It just get as much experience as possible. And if you can, try all the different departments. I think it's really nice when you go to, I don't know, the cine department, and you have the knowledge of like how long it takes to do a certain thing, or like what goes behind to like setting up, I don't know, the dolly track, just to make a very silly example. But try to have experience in all the different departments, so you know that when people come to you, maybe they just want more time, or they just want more money, but you're like, I know that that's not what you need.
Yeah.
Or just being able to understand a department, I think that's really important. And I think the departments will appreciate that as well. So I guess that like the first thing is just, as I said, try the different departments as much as you can and get as much experience as possible, and talk to people. Talk to people, understand what goes behind their roles, and yeah, I think that's my answer. Get to know as much people as possible, a lot of experience, and everything is gonna make sense at the end.
So I'm curious to know your perspective, being someone who's working at a film school.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, and maybe you actually can't tell me, what are your thoughts on people going to film school? What are some pros and what are some cons?
Okay, the pros.
Money.
You definitely build a community.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I notice, is just that you can just bond with someone and just like, oh my god, you went to that film school? Me too. And you just like bond with them right away. I mean, in my experience, film school has given me some tools to understand the indie world, but definitely has taught me how I act under pressure, because you get to do a lot of things and not a lot of time to prep, and it has taught me how I act under pressure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I need to work on that. Or even like has taught me, I mean, because when I was a student, it was during COVID.
Yeah.
So didn't really have the opportunity to talk to other people, but being a graduate from a film school and then talking to other people that went to the same film school, you just bond right away and just like compare things and what they learn and what we learned. But yeah, and then you will in film school, I guess you also learn who you want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's if
Yeah.
you can find your pack. Yeah.
I guess you like have a lot of personality types that you'd have to work around in film school as well.
Yeah, I mean, the working at film school definitely has helped me to like grow. I wouldn't call it thick skin, but like tactics on how to talk to people and read people a little bit more easily. It was like, oh, that's a repeating pattern that I saw on a student.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, let's just be more careful on that.
Mm-hmm. So no cons for film school?
Cons, I think that 1 year is not enough
Mm-hmm.
to prepare you to like the real world. And it's another con.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, let's just
move
give it
on.
away.
We'll move on. Yeah. So when you're dealing on a set, and you have a superior person that you're working with, so let's say, well, we can potentially, I guess, use Up in the Spotlight as an example.
Yeah.
So when you have a producer that you're working with, how do you operate with them and someone in a logistical role, such as, I know that for that you were an assistant producer for it? PM. Yeah. So PM to producer, how do you operate on an indie world, which would also coincidentally be similar to how a production coordinator would operate with the producer?
It's just basically reporting everything and try to filter all the information to the producer and just like, listen, this is what happened.
Yeah.
This is what you need to know. And this is what I need you to work on, or like the other way around, of course. I think that in the indie community, sometimes the roles starts merging together. That sometimes they're like, oh, okay, you're that role and I'm that role. Okay, cool. But yeah, it's just basically all the HODs that talk to you. They tell you what they need, what is missing, what we need to work on, or what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then you report to the producer. And a big advice, don't ever report to a producer with a problem, but just report to the producer with a problem and a solution.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, at least I think it shows a lot of like, hey, I know there's a problem.
Yeah.
This is what I think could work, but of course, you let me know what actually works best.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just reporting to them, and then of course they have to like approve everything. Like I would contact some rental houses and be like, okay, can we have the walkies, for example? We managed to get the walkies for I think like $12 a day for just like we were filming like 4 days or something like that.
Yeah, 4 days.
Yeah, 4 days, and they just gave us for like they charged us for 1 day. Something like that. We got it in a very great deal. And I was talking to the producer, like, does that work for you? It's like, oh no, that's great. That's great. Thank you. Yep. Yes.
I had budgeted a lot more. Thank you.
Yeah. And just like whatever it's payment related, you just redirect everybody to him and like, okay, thank you so much for letting me know. Here's the producer. He's going to do the payment.
Yeah.
But yeah, just.
Nice. Do you ever set your boundaries when you come on to show? We're laughing because I know. Like, how would you recommend setting boundaries coming onto a show, especially in a position that might be merged in with so many other roles?
I'm working on it. I mean,
what would your advice to future you be?
Well, the thing is, I actually implemented this big learning. So now that I know what are the consequences of saying yes to everything, I I just I'm trying to recall a memory. Just um, so let's say, for example, there was this production where we had an LM actually. There you go, an LM that was not able to be on set, and I'm like, okay, but we do need the LM on set. I was like, okay, what can you do in order to like at the end of the day, like what can you do in order to like respect actually the credit that you're getting? Because if not, I will need to hire someone else
Yeah.
to do all the prep and to be on set.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like I can talk to the rental house. Like, okay, well, can you provide me the location maps? And like, yeah, I can do it. And they actually did, and they gave a list of all the things that they have done, and then gave it to the other location manager that I hired for the day. So that was like, oh, okay. That's a very simple example, but
Yeah.
just I'm trying now to be more straightforward from the beginning.
Yeah.
Still need to work on it. Still need to set better boundaries, but learning slowly.
I think it's something that everyone can work on, and
Yeah.
it is something to be said that like set the expectations from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's nothing worse, and I'm sure you've dealt with it, that if someone said yes to doing something and then you get 2 days before you're about to shoot and
there's nothing
they're
done.
like, hey, wait, you didn't do all these things you said you could.
Yeah.
And then you're in a scramble to deal with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm like, another thing that I need to work on is that sometimes I'm that kind of mindset that I'm like, if I have to explain it to someone, it's gonna take longer than actually doing it. So that's why I do it. I know. So yeah, definitely need to work on that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't be.
Please, guys, don't do that.
I think it's a meme. I'm pretty sure it's a meme where it's like, oh, when you're so good at your job, you get rewarded by doing other people's job.
Yeah.
No, there's it showcases the fact that you're able to do so many positions because you're able to get so many many jobs.
Yeah. I mean, because I guess this goes for everybody that works, especially in the non-union shows, is that they also have a day job and try to balance everything. And you're like, well, they're doing this for free. So you start feeling bad and you're like, they're doing this for free. They maybe not.
So when you are dealing on a volunteer production, how do you best manage people's times and also your time with like honoring the fact that like they can't give you all their time and we have to make time slots work where they can? Do you have a system?
It's basically just trying to talk with them and try to have as many meetings as possible without taking a lot of their times. Usually it's going to be always the HODs. They're going to be spending the most of the time of their own free time with us. So there's that. And I mean, the producing department is always going to be the one who's going to be pulling all-nighters, making sure that everything is organized. And yeah, I mean, it's just whenever you have free time, you do the job.
That's like one thing I don't envy about in low budget indie producers, because I'm like, I know that when I do the AD work that I do, that I'm already spending so much time working on the script or doing meetings or trying to be in as many meetings as possible. I'm like, whatever I'm doing, the indie producer is doing way more than I'm doing.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you miss one meeting, it's insane trying to understand what you missed.
Yeah.
And
what the changes that have been made and how those changes affect you.
Exactly. It's like, oh, well, I don't know, even this person is not available anymore. I'm like, oh, well, you need to call me for that. Don't send me a message. Just call me right away. And having to find even people so like last minute or trying to like problem solve.
Yeah, no,
I need sleep.
I definitely agree. Like trying to be in all those meetings, and then like also honoring yourself. Of like the reality is you can't be in all those meetings because
Yeah.
you also have a day job. One example that I had recently was I was just in a shot list meeting, and they made changes to like special effects and costumes and I think a few different departments, but the producer wasn't involved with it.
Hmm.
And I was there by fluke because it was actually meant to be a time meeting with the shot list meeting. So then I had to go around, and I mean it's basically my job, but
Yeah.
I went around and was like, "Hey guys, just in case no one tells you, these are all changes that have just been made, and these are when they happen. These are the scenes they happen in." And I'm
Yeah.
like, if the director's not reaching out to you, and like the people who have made those changes, what happens in the meetings that we're not a part of?
Yeah. I guess we'll just find out on set.
Yeah, you're like, oh, cool, yeah. We probably didn't talk about that, but
Yeah.
that's great.
Well, that's sometimes like it happens that you start playing the game of assumption.
Mm.
So you just assume things and don't ask because you think like, oh, if there would have been something important to say, they would have said that.
Mm.
And you don't even question it because like, I'm just too tired. I want to get this done.
Out of all my shows I've recently have done, I have learned to never assume.
Yeah.
And even if I think that I know the answer, I'll still ask the dumb question
Double
because you
check
don't know
always.
who has that same, like who hasn't asked that question
Yeah.
or who needs to know that information.
Yeah.
Anywho, that will take us to a break. We'll be right back, and on the other end of this, we're going to ask you about your worst day on set, and it's going to be probably traumatic and fantastic all at the same time. We'll be right back. And welcome back to this side of the break. We're here with Aries. And now we're going to get a little bit nice and cozy and talk about your worst day experience on set. And this is meant to be, even though we say it's a worst experience on set, it's meant to be like sort of a acknowledgement moment of
Yeah.
even when life gets bad, it's not that bad. And just to show other people that everyone's dealing with it.
Oh, yeah.
Type of
Absolutely.
deal. And I hear you have 2 stories to share with us,
Yeah.
so I would love to hear them.
I mean, this is really connected to one of the things that I said in the first part, where focus on getting as much more experience as possible instead of getting one big credit, especially in the producing department. I think I was like, it was straight out of film school. I was asked to help in a production, and I was like, yeah, I mean, this seems like a great opportunity. You know what? I'll do it. So I helped out as much as I can, and as much as I knew. And let's just say that it was a great learning experience. I think, that helped me a lot to grow as a producer because I just saw what can go wrong if you don't do your due diligence, especially as a producer. And if you're not really picky with your crew, because we had on set, let's say we had one of the HODs that was not the nicest to be around, and I did not like the way that this person was leading. Let's just say how this person was bossing around people, and I was like, I don't want that on my sets. And like sometimes this person would be very rude towards me as well, and I'm like, I'm trying to help here. I'm not going against you.
Yeah.
So
Part of the same team.
exactly, it's us against the problem, not us against each other. And like other things, and I'm like, that was the first time that I was like, I need to leave, and I actually left. Yeah, and I don't like, a lot of people did not realize that I actually left. They thought I had something else going on, but it was actually me leaving because I was like, um, this production does not align with my morals and the way that I want to be seen as. And I was like, I'm leaving. I can't. Like this, I feel like my reputation is going down.
Yeah.
And I guess that was kind of like my way to set boundaries. It was more with myself because I'm like, I'm never going to feel this way. I'm not allowing this to happen anymore in my life, because I felt humiliated in a position where I was kind of like it was an important role, but I felt like I was nothing, the way that I was being treated, and like the way that as well, like the HODs were really treating the production. Like no one was getting paid in there, and I don't think they were treated nicely. And I was like, this does not reflect the way that I want to be known as, and the way that I want to work.
No, totally.
So I had to leave, and that was one of the first experiences straight out of film school. I'm like, maybe we should focus on doing smaller projects and do them well.
Yeah.
Instead of like going big and have no experience. So as I said, it was a really big learning experience. Felt pretty bad. I was like, maybe I was crying. I don't know.
Who can really tell? It was so long ago.
I don't know. It was so long ago.
No, actually, that's something to be said that also, I'm pretty sure Wayne mentioned it on this podcast when he was here, the producer.
Yeah.
He said that people tend to jump into roles too early, and that when that happens, they're not prepared for the roles that they're taking on. And something that you also mentioned there that I think it might be like worth bringing up, there's also jumping into a role that you might be prepared for, but it's also knowing if your boss is prepared for that role as well, and what you can learn from your boss. And maybe you can't learn anything from them, but you can learn what not to do from them. That's also good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's the thing. That's why I said it was a great learning experience, because it's the amount of mistakes that I saw, and it was just like, oh, okay, well, can't really change what happened, but what can I change for my future productions? So yeah, and it was not really logistically like, well, yeah, like there were a lot of like logistical issues. Well, yeah, my bad. Yeah, there were. But it was just like how people were handling people.
Yeah.
And the thing that I can't really stress enough how important it is for, at least in my sets, to make sure that people are enjoying what they're doing. That goes first.
Yeah.
And like, you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you're not a nice person, you can continue being the most talented person somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not on my set. I need you to treat people nicely, because we are people before professionals. And yeah, it's just, that's what I've learned. It's like, I don't want that attitude on my set ever. Or like, you would see, let me see if I can say that or not.
Okay.
Like a general example is like, I keep an eye if like, even like the DOP, if the DOP helps with packing the truck. There are sometimes DOPs that stay on their phones, or they don't do that. I'm like, lead by example. If you're not the one setting the example, don't expect people to go to do more if you're not the one doing more.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially if it's like I would say with that, there is the caveat of if it depends on what day it is. Like if it was their first day and they have to prepare for their second day, then maybe like, okay, you don't need to pack up the truck. But if you're like wrapping out and it's a volunteer project and you're expecting them, then you should help out.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like and I think this goes for all the departments and everyone, especially if you're a HOD, you have to do more if you want more from other people. You are the one who sets the example. And because if you're not doing anything, people will use that against you. Well, if that person doesn't care, why do I care?
Yeah.
So
I've seen it in many positions that I've been in, where it's like, my boss doesn't give a shit. Why should I give a shit?
Yeah.
No, but it's actually something that makes you a really, really good producer, because you look back on these experiences and you reflect on it, thinking like, what could I have done better, or what is the learning experience from this? And not a lot of people do that. I don't know if you know, there's not a lot of people do that. They're just like, wow, that was shit. I was like, that person's a dick, but what caused that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. And the other experience, which another great learning experience, is how you should be calm when a lot of bad things are happening. So there was this other big production that we had where we were like, I think like a week before picture, something like that. And we lost a head of the department. Because again, when we're doing like indie productions, we're doing things for free. And this person got a paid gig, and I'm like, sad to see you go. Good luck. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, that's our goal, to get a job and be paid for what we're best at doing, right? But let's just say that when we lost that person, we lost the equipment as well, because they were the one who had a deal with that rental house. And the thing is that, again, the assumption game. We assumed that we still had the equipment until we found out that we didn't. So I remember me, the director, and the other producer, we were just like destroyed. We were really sleep deprived. And I was like, okay, let's just close our computers. Let's not make any decisions right now, because everything that we're going to do is going to be based in emotions and not in logic. And that's the thing. When you're producing, emotions should be put aside in a little room. Should still have them if you still can have them. But you need to be really logical. Mm-hmm. Like, you cannot let your emotion take over, because you just can't. Like, you can't think clearly. And we were all, the three of us, just like, okay, we were just completely numb, because like, now we have to find equipment from I don't know where. And we just have a week, and we have a huge crew, and what are we going to do? So yeah, but then we close our computers, try to be calm and think. We had, I think, like a good 2 hours of like silence, basically. We all just needed to be quiet. And of course, we were thinking loud, just like, oh God, what should I do? What should I do? And but the good thing about having a good team is just do a lot of brainstorming and see what we actually like. We communicated with the other HODs and be like, hey, we lost the DP, and we had the first AD helping us out and finding another DP. Bless that AD.
What a good guy.
Yeah. Save the show. But yeah, just that was a really good lesson, because yes, it helped me to understand how like it is important to be calm in this very crazy situations, but also how important to have good people with you. Because I am pretty sure that anyone in that situation could have been like, okay, we got no equipment, I'm out.
Yeah, it could have had a domino effect.
Exactly. But no, people really wanted to do that. And when I was in the show and like I was seeing everyone doing their work and enjoying it, I was like, okay, I wouldn't say I would do it again, but it was definitely worth it. And like you realize how important it is to have good people around you.
Totally. I think it goes back to what you were saying, like being good to everyone around you. Absolutely. Because like if you're good to those people and then you need something if you do genuinely need something from them, then they're more inclined to help you out rather than like if you were a dick producer, then it would be like, sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, you figure it out now.
But that's a really good segue into our mental health side of things, about like how you deal with stress, or like being in a position that, I mean, you have to be so finicky with numbers, or you have to be so pedantic about going through line by line 5 times of stuff you've made so you're not making a mistake, and potentially like ordering 100 C stands for grips when they needed 10.
Yeah. Okay, so what I try to do is, and I don't know if it's gonna really answer your question, but I know that I don't know certain things, and the reason why, when we're like for example, we're hiring people, just like, okay, I think that person is really good, so whatever is your department, you need to deal with it, because I cannot be dealing with any issues coming from your department, because that's what you will need to deal with. My job is making sure that everything goes smoothly, but that's, I think, a way to like help your mental health, because like it's just like understanding and being aware that let's just say with the cine team, you don't know a specific thing about the camera, and the team comes to you is like, oh, why did you order that when maybe it was a typo? I don't know. Just like I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Totally.
So like just let the HODs delegate, let the HODs do what they're best at.
Yeah.
And then when the problem comes, then you'll find a solution with the HODs. But yeah, delegation is definitely the big one. Delegate and recognize when you need help.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, that's the biggest one. And be surrounded again by good people. It always goes back to the same answer. Be surrounded by good people, because sometimes you're so sucked into that, like, I need to work, I need to make this happen, that you really forget about taking care of yourself. And then your closest friend be like, you don't look like you're doing well. Like, let's just sit down.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but like I need to do is like, you need to take care of yourself first.
So you mentioned a lot like being surrounded by good people.
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation that you maybe weren't surrounded by good people or surrounded by the nicest people that like what do you do in those situations, or have you ever found yourself in that situation?
Let me think. I mean, yeah, the answer is yes. Because then I guess that experience helped me realize for now how lucky I am to have the friends that I have. I guess I don't really have a specific example to answer with, but I guess the moment that you feel that everything is a competition, that's when you're like, oh, that's not okay. This is not a competition. We all working for the same goal here.
Yeah.
Or like, I think that could, I don't know if it answer your question, but like, it's just, you realize when someone is doing something to make the project better,
Yeah.
and when someone is doing something to make themselves look better.
Yeah. No, definitely. Because there's I know we have mentioned this on the podcast before that you're all going like we've mentioned it like the project is a baby almost, and you're all going to like, how can we improve this baby? How can we raise it the best it can be?
Yeah.
But if they're like, instead of saying it like, oh, this is my child, it's like, how can I best myself in this project? Then that is a problem, because you're not working with everyone, you're working against everyone for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you do in that situation? What would you recommend if you found yourself in that situation where you're dealing with those people?
Well, the thing is that when it has happened, it always has been in small projects.
Yeah. So it's like, wait 2 days, then go on.
Well, yeah. And I mean, well, you also have to pick your battles. You're like, do you think that this person is going to actually listen to what you're going to say?
Yeah.
If you think yes, then have the conversation. And if it's a no, it's just, hey, just be respectful to each other, and you're not going to be working with that person anymore.
Yeah.
You have to let them go, because it's either wasting time talking about the problem or just choosing not to waste time with the person anymore.
Totally.
And just let it go. Yeah.
Nice. No,
Yeah.
that's really great advice for that.
Just, yeah. I don't know. I wanted to say something. It's gone.
Oh, witty comment for
Gone.
the
It will
people.
come.
Oh, it's and bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Well, we'll reach the segment that we're going to ask you some questions that we've been sent in.
Okay.
So, question number 1. Have you ever had to fire anybody, and how do you go best about doing it?
Yes. So I had to fire someone. It's one of those situations that nobody really prepares you for.
Mhm.
And it's something that you don't really want to do, but you have to do. And of course, there are like different reasons of why you have to let go of someone. Like fire is it's a pretty big word, but you need to think about, because at the end of the day, it's either about the project or you need to think about the crew. And trying to think. It's a conversation that you need to have right away when you have to let go of someone, and just be clear. Just to be clear, give them the reason. Like, hey, we have to let you go for this reason. We cannot be, I don't know, associated with a certain thing, and this is not personal. Like, always make sure that you clarify that, because you might have really deep respect for the person, but professionally speaking, you cannot have that person on your set. Or, I don't know, maybe this person was very rude or whatever, but in real life is just, he's actually pretty nice, or they're actually pretty nice. But yeah, just put your crew first. You want to make sure as a producer that your crew feels safe, that your crew is surrounded by people that makes them feel, people that bring positive energy on set. Like, that's a big one. But yeah, put the production first, and even if you don't want to do it, you have to do it. You're the person that actually is supposed to do that, and you will feel really bad. It never gets better.
Gets easy.
No, it never gets easy. Absolutely, it's really hard, but you have to do it. Nobody really prepares you for that. I wish there was like a script to follow or something.
Yeah, I was like, so step 1. Awesome. How do you get insurance?
Well, so a thing that film school has helped me a lot with is for my productions, like I do multiple production in 1 year. I think the wisest approach to getting insurance has been buying a DICE package. So it's basically a 1 year insurance. You talk with the insurance company and tell them like what you need to have in your COI. Like, let's say $5 million of general liability, $2 million of equipment coverage, and a bunch of other things that you can add on. And that is definitely something that has helped me save so much time, because insurance per se is a really tricky thing to deal with. And special shout out to Front Row Insurance. They have been so patient with me. I've had like a phone call with them actually like a week ago, because I had to renew my insurance, and they were so thorough with giving me information. Because again, always ask about things. You're never gonna look stupid if you ask a question. But yeah, that's the way that I save money and time.
Nice.
So have a DICE package for 1 year. It's a 1 year insurance, and you can cover your productions.
How do you deal with municipalities? How do you best deal with them?
Well, it depends on which ones. Each district of BC has their own rules about permits and all that. I've kind of done things a little bit like strategically.
Mm-hmm.
There are like certain districts that do not need a permit, so I kind of push the productions are like, hey, if we need a location, let's just get it in this specific district.
Yeah.
because it's gonna save us time and money. Because there are certain districts that require a $1,000 of deposit. Sometimes $1,000 is not even the budget of the whole production. So you always go for the one that has no permit requirement. Or you have other districts that you have worked with multiple times that are actually going to help you to speed up a little bit the process. And again, like I was saying before, just it's really important to be kind because people will remember you. And there was like the district, there was a specific district that I used for my final back to when I was a student, and they remembered me when I asked for another permit for an actual short film. The fees are different, but the people are the same. And they're nice. They're actually really nice, and they're very kind, and they appreciate when you're kind to them because they're like not everyone has the same like they all have a lot of work on their plate. It's not just filmmakers.
Yeah.
So, and when you're kind to people, they remember that, especially when they're overwhelmed with work.
Nice. How do you learn how do you work with your friends?
Haha. That's the big one. So, when you spend a lot of time with people on set, they will eventually become your friends.
Or your enemies.
Oh, your enemies.
But hopefully not.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make sure that the friends that you're working with understand the line and the boundary of like, here we're friends. Like outside set, we're friends. But on set, I'm your producer or I'm your whatever role that you're doing. It's just understanding that every time that you're having a discussion, it's because of the problem and not because of the person. I mean, you will eventually you will have some cases where you're like, I love this person a lot, great friend, but man,
would never work with them.
I can't really work with them because like you then start with the fact that you are friends, then they kind of start taking things a little bit personally.
Yeah.
Or they can even use the fact like, oh, but we're friends. Why you're not hiring me? And I'm like, I don't hire people based on like how close to them I am.
Yeah.
It's because even like during the hiring process, you need to make like a puzzle game. Will the personality of this HOD match with the other HOD? How will their communication be? And I'm not doing like, oh, since you're my best friend, you're going to be in this position.
And my other best friend is going to be
like, but yeah, no, it's just, I mean, I'm, again, as I said before, I'm really lucky of my friends and I work with them. And like, it also like, when you're working with your friends, it makes the set more, I would say, welcoming as well. Like you can get to have fun. You have fun and people enjoy doing what they're doing and it's great. It's great.
And everyone's having a good time.
Everyone is having a good time.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But tell me, if someone's listening to this and they're like, wow, we really want to hire you, maybe not even as a production coordinator, maybe as a producer, because that's what we know you as.
Yeah.
Where did they find you? Put all your tags here, whatever you want them to find you on.
Mainly on Instagram. Unfortunately, I don't have a website or use a lot of other social medias. I don't really even post a lot on Instagram. But that's the best way to contact me or like through my email.
Cool. And what are they?
So my Instagram is at thisismearies and my email is aries.ceta@gmail.com.
Awesome. And then we'll put it in the YouTube link.
Here.
So right somewhere here.
Somewhere here.
And then lastly, if you have a piece of work that you're proud of, what would you want to be put at the end of this video just so we can showcase your work?
IMDb.
IMDb. We can do IMDb.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, we'll get that link up there, and we'll get people viewing your star meter.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. And that's What's Your 20 with Aries Ceta.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.